I use Claude pretty much every single day as a student and as someone that works in the tech industry. So this is exactly what I do to fully take advantage of the various resources that this software has to offer. Hi, my name is Courtney. I'm a student developer, and pretty much all I do on this channel is talk about ways that you can break into the tech industry. And today I'm going to really talk about a tool that works really well for me in kind of like a tutorial style format, which is Claude. Now, I personally prefer Claude over other like AI prompting softwares out there, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll kind of understand why. So please be sure to like and subscribe and stick along, because I'm going to introduce you to a plethora of different nooks and crannies of Claude that aren't typically learned about, and we'll delve into how you can really take advantage of this really cool software. So first off, what is Claude and who is Anthropic, their creators? So Claude is a prompting AI. Like I said, pretty much you ask it a question and it kind of gives you an answer based off of a massive data set that it is trained on. That is pretty much like how AI works and how prompting AI works. There's other AIs out there like Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT. They're all prompting softwares, but they're all offered by different companies, whether it's Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, or Anthropic. Now, there's like ethical reasons to why I chose Claude over ChatGPT to really train. And then now that I'm at where I am, there are technical reasons that also push me over to Claude and Anthropic softwares over OpenAI's. Anthropic founders actually started as OpenAI, started with OpenAI. But in 2021, they split off and created Anthropic to create an AI that strictly focuses heavily on AI safety and AI protocols and things of that sort. And no, I'm not sponsored by them at all. I just love the product. So obviously I want to teach about it. Now, there are different models within Claude that you should kind of be privy to before we kind of jump into this. And I'll kind of show you how you can move it around. But first off, there is the HiQ model, which is fast and light. Then there's the Sonnet, which is the everyday user. I personally find myself frequently using Sonnet because it doesn't take too much from my use limits. And then there's Opus, which is the most capable if you are trying to draft something really big, or if you're trying to have AI do something that's a bit more power heavy. That's where you'll kind of use Opus. But be aware that Opus takes a lot out of your usage limits for the day and for the week as well. Now, I personally have Claude in a couple of different ways. I do have it in my browser, but I also use the downloaded application for my desktop. Majority of the videos that I'm going to show today will be coming from the browser version, just because you don't need to have the actual desktop version to do a lot of things. I just prefer the desktop version because you can upload files to it better, and it can read files off of your device if you give it access to do so. So this is pretty much the workspace that you'll kind of be using. This is the prompting area here, and then this right here is kind of where you, like I said, break into the different models that that Anthropic has to offer. You can use Claude to code things, strategize, write, learn, ask for personal life advice, which, I think it can be pretty helpful. It's obviously not a human, so go to therapy, guys. But this is how you kind of create a new chatbot here. You can search through your previous chat histories as well. And then you can do some different projects as well. Let's kind of click into that projects tab and see kind of what this is about here. So when you create projects with Claude, you can pretty much kind of create your own little personal assistant for a specific issue. So something that I have in my Claude desktop or project is my content creation. I sometimes will have my Claude help me out when it comes to dealing with sponsorship deals and things of that sort. So it's great when you want to actually train the AI to help you with your specific things and remember those specific things for later. Another great project that I personally use is in my development journey. I frequently use Claude to help me when it comes to job application season, recruitment season, and overall technical problems when it comes to doing some of the prep work and coursework and certifications. So with this, you can just click new project and you can name the projects, what you're trying to work on. So once you kind of give it a description of what you're trying to do, you can click create project. It's all saved within the project, so you don't really have to worry about it kind of forgetting anything. It's pretty much pre-made context within the chatbot, which I find to be very helpful. Now, there are different paid plans with Anthropic that should be spoken about. There's the free tier, which I personally think does more than enough for what you need to do if you are a student or someone that's just breaking into the tech industry. Then there's the pro version. I personally am a pro member because that unlocks features like Claude Cowork and Claude Code, which are very helpful for creating things as well as creating an agent pretty much. also helps out with like message limits and priority access. Once you get out of the free tier, there's another tier as well, which is the max tier. This is excessive. You don't have to spend $100 a month, but with that, obviously you get way more access to things like Claude Pro, as well as like Claude Cowork, Claude Code. You obviously get to use the Opus as well more frequently, which it really depends on what you're doing. But the Sonnet and the Haiku work perfectly fine, so you don't really have to. You don't have to worry about that. If you have $100 to drop every single month on an AI, go for it. But Claude Pro does the job and gives you access to a plethora of different things. But you don't even need all that because the free version does pretty much all you need to do if you are just doing student work. Now, if you are doing some more technical work, I find that Claude Code does pull a lot from your usage. So take that into account if you are just doing projects only using Claude Code. But for the most part, you should only really be using the chatbot, and maybe sometimes uploading snippets of your code and having the chatbot help you analyze what possibly could be going wrong, as opposed to using AI to strictly code for you. Now that we've kind of gone over the interface for Claude, let's get over some prompting basics, because this is where it separates someone that's like normal with AI to someone that is truly more efficient with their time, and that is how you prompt. So overall, what is a prompt, and like why does it matter on how I do? How does it differ? So a prompt is literally what you are giving the AI. It is your chat. It is your, hey, how was the weather? Hey, how many carbohydrates are in a cup of quinoa? Like, that is a prompt for your AI. But when you are doing some more heavy duty tasks, your prompts need to be very, very detailed, because the more detailed your prompt, the more accurate and usable your AI's result will be. There are 3 ingredients to a really good prompt. First is context, giving it the overall understanding of what's happening. Then you give it the actual task for it to complete. And finally, you give it like a good format to like tell you exactly what you need and how you need to be structured. So for instance, something that I'm working on right now, I am doing a data analysis project for a team. We are finding trouble finding decent products or manually inputting data into this massive spreadsheet. So I go to Claude, and the first, Courtney says, hey Claude, I am having trouble updating this data set spreadsheet. What are some ways I can do that? Now, that's an okay prompt. It's not terrible, but there's definitely ways that we can improve it. The second, Courtney says, hey Claude, I am a data analysis intern for a tech nonprofit. We are struggling when it comes to updating a spreadsheet in a fiscally responsible way. What are some ways that you'd recommend us go about updating this spreadsheet without having to spend too much money and without having to do it manually? Give me the top 5 resources that you can find that are the most economical for this company to solve the issue. See how second Courtney's answer is much more economical and overall way better? It's because she gave context, she gave the task, and then she gave a format for how she wants it to be given. Another great thing that you can do is give Claude a role. Hey Claude, you are a biology teacher for a 10th grade class. So for me personally, right, I'm teaching some classes for my institution in the fall. So I will literally tell Claude, hey Claude, you are an instructor at an R1 institution teaching a class in innovation. What are some different lecture materials that you think students should be aware of? By giving Claude the role, it's better able to step into like pretty much the tasks that you need to do. And this is really good if you are doing coding prompts, because it's telling Claude that it's a software engineer that specializes in React and an API implementation into software. By doing all that, it kind of gives Claude a better ability to like step into the role. You can ask Claude to refine, shorten, or write in a totally different writing style for different prompts and things as well, which I find very helpful. But another thing that I find really, really helpful is having Claude write in my own style of writing, especially when it comes to writing out emails. I honestly don't write any emails anymore. That is strictly Claude, and that is a project that I have where it's just emails sent to my institution peers, emails sent to professionals, and Claude knows my personal like way of typing and way of speaking, so it completely understands how I talk. And quickly, since I'm talking about Claude as a student and then as tech, for students specifically, Claude can be very helpful for studying. I really quickly just want to talk about how I personally use Claude. I have it literally create a quiz for me, create a study guide for me. I'll just upload all the course materials into it, and then it can go on and create different study guides and things of that sort for me, which I find very helpful. Another thing that I find super helpful with Claude is this voice feature here. So obviously you can just speak into it and it will do a voice to text. But this one here is like kind of like a conversation mode where you can just talk to Claude and it will talk back to you in a human-like manner, which is great if you're just trying to rattle off some brain ideas, do a little brain dump situation and kind of bounce ideas off of the AI. I really like the conversations that I have with it. I'll ask it about career advice, maybe switching industries, maybe switching careers from software engineering to data analysis to product management, bouncing ideas off of it and knowing how I should really refine my resume and my portfolio to match the jobs that I'm applying for. So that's really helpful for in the tech industry and also just in life. Claude can be a great kind of sounding board. And then next, I do very much want to talk about how Claude can be useful for coding and doing tasks of that sort. So you can simply paste in a block of code and have Claude explain to you exactly what that means. And it can literally break down line by line exactly what each piece of syntax means. It also can code you a site. You just have to be very specific on what you're trying to do. And if you don't want the site to look like AI slop, you should be very specific about the color scheme, the layout. Give it some reference photos of other sites you might want it to be based off of. So my audio cut out. So this is like me a few days later finishing up the video after trying to edit. There are 5 things that Claude is like really good at and overall, and I really want to make sure that you know that it has the capabilities to handle these things. First off, it's writing and editing, whether you want it to write an email or edit an essay for you or doing cover letters or scripts or anything of that sort. It's really good at handling those types of documentation, especially when it comes to using it in your previous tone. It's also really good for studying and research as well if you wanted to summarize a reading. It's also really good at coding, giving examples of code, debugging your code, generating like simple programs or scripts depending on what you're specifically trying to do. It's also great for brainstorming ideas. Sometimes if I'm having like a writer's block or a content creation block and I don't really know what videos I should be like posting, what people would be interested in based off of my algorithm, it's great for brainstorming ideas like that. If you want to do a project like for your portfolio, you can, use Claude to help brainstorm ideas, bring some ideas together for that as well. Or if you even want to do like business concepts, if you want to take advantage of that, like entrepreneurial aspects, like of your life, if you really you want to be an entrepreneur, you have business ideas, but you don't know exactly like how to go about it, what you want to do. Claude is really good at brainstorming some of those ideas together, bringing together like massive trends in the world and like helping you kind of come up with some ideas on that front. And then finally, something really good at is like handling large documents. So this is where that desktop mode is like better because it's easier for scanning documents from your actual like hard drive. But in general, it's good at like doing documents like that, like syllabi, articles you're trying to read, or like reports that you have to read if you're like doing it for work. It's definitely like very easy and it makes your life much easier, so you don't have to find yourself like reading all those things. So something that like for me personally I really like to do is I like dietetics. I really like how food influences your body and how it like influences your abilities to regenerate, your abilities to exercise, your drive to do different things, right? So I like to find articles from that, and then I'll put the articles into Claude for it to then like summarize for me, break down the major points, break down some of the arguments that like the overall like the authors brought into it all. It's a great way for me to easily digest that information without having to be completely like in that industry, especially when some of the reports use a lot more of that medical jargon. So I really like using Claude for those 5 different things, and those are just aspects in my life where I personally find myself using Claude. And now there are things that Claude won't do just because the company puts guardrails on, like kind of like I mentioned before. Claude is here for safety. Like there are safety regulations with the AI. If you do anything where you're like asking for like harm or anything of that sort, it will usually block you, and if anything it'll give you contact information for you to easily seek help, which I find really good. And that's a selling point for me personally, because even though I'm personally not doing that, I know a lot of people might try to use AI to look up some like not very good stuff, especially if they're not in the right mental space. So the fact that the AI kind of blocks them and reroutes them to more opportunities to seek help, I really personally like that. Now, when it comes to like the overarching question, which one's better, Claude or ChatGPT, there's not one specific like one that's better than the other, because they're both better in their own ways. Like I said before, ethically and technically, I personally choose Claude because it is, in my opinion, better at writing code, and there are some ethical reasons for why I choose Anthropic over OpenAI. A lot of that ties back into the guardrails that I kind of tapped into earlier. And overall, ChatGPT is better for like broader plugin or image generation. You know, most students should have both bookmarked on their like browser, on their, you know, search engine, but I personally find myself going back to Claude again and again, especially since I bought the pro version. Claude Cowork and Claude Code makes that platform worth it for me more than like ChatGPT's Atlas. Claude's Opus 4.8 just dropped, so they're frequently dropping more advanced models under the whole program in general. So a super nice takeaway in general. But yeah, what are some of you? What's your favorite prompting AI? What do you personally use AI for in your life? And did I miss anything? What do you think some beginners entering their whole AI life should know about? Because at the end of the day, this video isn't for people that are more advanced. It's for people that genuinely have heard of Claude and they don't really know what it is, and they know ChatGPT is an AI, but they don't know how they stand up next to each other. Do you guys want a more advanced video where I delve into Claude Code and Claude Cowork and how I personally use it as a developer or as a student or as a business owner? You know what I mean? So please comment down below, what are some of your bigger interests as well? What are some of the AIs that you use and how do they stand up against Claude? We can do some comparison videos if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time on Quartz Corner.